Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Every month I do a Procreate tutorial where I transfer my fine art oil painting skills to Procreate and try to show you how to achieve that painterly style. In this week's video I'm going to show you how I painted Ronnie with an emphasis on brushwork. The brushes that I used for this piece of artwork were the turpentine brush and also the soft blend brush. For speed, I have placed my photo in Procreate and have drawn around my object. I have used the harmonic armature to help me place Ronnie in the correct area of my square. For more information on how to use the harmonic armature, have a look at this video on my channel. The drawing outline sits at the top of my layers panel and I will use it to check my drawing remains correct at various stages of my painting. If you want to practice your drawing, then try doing it freehand and then use the same method to check how far out you are. For this artwork, I have selected all my colours from the orange colour picker. In this picker, I need to be aware that this slider controls my temperature and this slider controls my value. Warm, cool, light, dark. I am using my turpentine brush for pretty much the whole painting. This brush is great for long fur effect. The majority of the painting has been done on one layer. This is really important because I need to be able to move my paint around, and I can only do this effectively where I add strokes on top of strokes. This mimics alla prima painting, where the aim is to do it all in one go. The painting was done in 30 minutes. It looks loose and expressive because it was done quickly. I am aiming to do this in as few strokes as possible. The more I labour over it, the more I will lose that expressive painterly effect. Generally, I have my brush at around 70 to 80% opacity, but for areas where I need stronger colour coverage, for example these really dark areas here and here, I will turn up the opacity to 100%. Before you start, have a good look at your reference photo and try and work out the movement in your picture. For example, in this picture, I feel the movement can be best described in this way. Notice how the long fur sort of swirls around the short fur on the head. Notice also how I can create contrast to my main body movement by placing another line that swirls around this, but in the opposite direction. By understanding the movement in my photo, it will then help tell me how I need to place my brush strokes. I am exaggerating what you are seeing in the photo. You can see I am starting with large strokes and placing them in the direction of the movement I identified in my reference photo. There is no detail, I am just selecting an average colour and value of what I think I am seeing. I am doing this by eye. I've turned up my opacity at this point to mark in some of those dark details around the legs and the body. I have selected a warm dark brown because this area is cooler. For backgrounds, as a general rule, it is good to place opposite temperatures together. My warm background is next to my cooler fur. Notice on my photo, that is my darkest area where there is quite a bit of shadow. As I progress the painting, you can see how large and loose those strokes are. My aim is to start broad with little detail and then begin to refine areas if they need it. And in this painting, I refine very little. Notice also in these fluffy areas around the shadows, I start darker and build lighter. Notice how few strokes there are in this tail area, and notice also how many strokes are largely applied in a cross-hatch sort of way. I don't tend to lay curved strokes because they lack vigour and energy. You are always better off laying strokes like this rather than like this. Curving your stroke will dilute the energy in your artwork. Good brushwork should add movement to your artwork. Once I've got enough of a block inlaid, I begin to add a bit more detail, mainly in the head area. you'll see I am trying to figure out how much detail I want to put in that face. Because I suspect that I will overwork it, I start a new layer. After a few attempts of adding detail, I'm satisfied that it's a bad idea, so delete it and leave the face as it is. Bear in mind, the more strokes I add, the more likely I am to lose the freshness of this painting. And I can see this happening as I begin to work into the face, which is why I delete the layer. At this point, the painting looks like this, but there is an issue with this great big expanse of warm brown. I need to add some variety to it. I switch to my soft blend brush and turn the opacity right down to about 30%. I select a colour that is of similar value to my brown, but cooler in temperature. If I adjust the value as well, what will happen is my background will start competing with my dog. So if you want to add a bit of variety to your background without affecting your central point of interest, adjust your temperature only. I've also started a new layer. For the rest of the painting, I am just trying to figure out that background. I like the smoothness of this area because it contrasts nicely with those scratchy brush strokes in the dog. But the issue is I just keep overdoing it. It is very much a trial and error process. The grey I have added is now making my artwork look too chalky. This is because I have too many cool colours together. I need a balance of both warm and cool colours for my artwork to work. Remember that white is a cool colour, and paired with my grey, it is too much over the cool side of my colour picker. Often when I get to this point and I'm not sure what to do, I start running through my effects in the layers panel. It is easy to do because I did this grey on a separate layer. Fortunately, adding a darker effect to the layer seems to work. It's knocked out the warmth of that warm brown a little without affecting the texture of that area, giving me great contrast between the rough and the smooth. Notice though, I still have a warm section sandwiched in between two cool areas. Cool, warm, cool. Remember what I said earlier about backgrounds and making sure you alternate your temperatures. To sum up then, for expressive painterly brushwork, do the following. Identify the movement in your reference photo. Lay your strokes according to that movement. Block in your object and then add detail if required. Aim to describe your object in a few strokes as possible. Avoid curved strokes where possible. Be vigorous with your hand action to create energetic strokes. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.